Last week, Tony Wallow brought a really interesting situation to us that we talked about during the show last week and did not get it solved. The next day, I think it was Sunday, maybe it was Monday, Tony and I got together over Zoom and remote
DougBot
connection.
said, "Hey, is this thing on?"
Yeah, SpeakerBot confirmed. And we found the problem. I think in about 15, 20 minutes, and our whole session lasted about half an hour because we looked at some other variations on the issue. So I want to talk it through with you. The Zoom homies know at least some portion of what happened. But there's a lot of interesting troubleshooting principles, and that's really the reason why I want to go over the story. And I'm not totally certain that it's completely over with, but it might be. That's not really my aim right now, though. So, what he reported to us Saturday is his scroll up does not work. And I'm not bringing up the exact wording, so I'm paraphrasing somewhat. I think I'll be reasonably accurate. So, the way I understood it, and I think it's fair to say the way it was, is he could scroll down using the mouse or using the keyboard, dragging the scroll box down or clicking whatever, but then he couldn't go back up. When I connected remotely to it, I saw something else that was not in his description. And I wanted to try what happens with my mouse and my keyboard. So I found the exact same symptom. I could go down, but I could not go up. But here's the little twist that I saw that I did not hear in his description. Maybe it was there, maybe I missed it. But what I saw was the scroll box would go down as I ask it to go down. And then when I use any technique to make it go up, it would go up and then boom, right back down. Any method that I would use, it would go up and then boom, right back down. So I thought, I've seen this before. Tony, I want you to hammer away on the keys on your keyboard, particularly Shift, Control, Alt, the arrow keys, page up, page down, just like the Liberace move. And what we're trying to do is unstick a key because I thought there was a scroll down key of some sort that was causing it to scroll down to the bottom. And it was not only could he scroll down to the bottom, but it would go all the way to the bottom. Now, as I'm thinking about it, that doesn't quite explain, well, maybe it does, that it doesn't go down right away. If it was a stuck key, I would think that as soon as you go into a window that has a scroll bar, it would just go straight down. And it did not do that. I'm pretty sure it did not. So, next thing I think, well, okay, let's prove it's not your keyboard. So Tony, I want you to disconnect your keyboard and let's just go ahead and disconnect your mouse as well. I'm not sure. We might have done the keyboard and test and then done the mouse, whatever. We got both of them disconnected. Same symptom. Scroll down to the bottom and then I could tell it to scroll up using any technique. It would go up and then boom, right back down to the bottom. So what's going on here? Does Windows do this? A little bit of a head scratcher. So then I say, okay, I want to see more of what's going on. Tony, can you send me a picture of your keyboard and your mouse? And send me a picture of your computer. I want to see all of the USB ports that the computer has on the front and the back. So he sent those over. And I see 4 USB devices connected on the back. This is after he's disconnected the keyboard and mouse. So I asked about the 2 USB connections at the bottom. I think one was to go to his monitor because it's a USB hub. And the other one, maybe it was going to his printer. I'm not sure about that. Did not turn out to be relevant. Then there's 2 others up at the top. So, well, what are those? He says, well, those are my extension cables. Now, he had already told me that he was disconnecting his keyboard and his mouse from the extension cables, but that just kind of in one ear and out the other, So I said, well, Tony, let's disconnect those. Disconnect the two extension cables. Nothing was connected to on the other end of the extension cables, right? He disconnects those, and then the computer works completely correct, completely proper. Okay, Tony, plug your keyboard into the USB ports on the front of the computer because he didn't need an extension for that. So my recollection, he got both the keyboard and the mouse connected to the USB ports on the front of the computer and no symptom. So at that point, I'm concluding, okay, it's those extension cables are the source of the trouble, one or both of them. So then I said, well, maybe if you separate those extension cables so they're not right next to each other, if there's some kind of crosstalk going on between them, maybe their excuse me, insulation is worn out. Maybe there's some electrical break in the wire. I'm not an electrical engineer, but I think I'm deducing that could be a thing. And yeah, I'm going to say my recollection is that he found that was working better. But since then, he's given me, I've received emails, I've received text messages. At one point, he concluded that it was his keyboard was the source of the trouble all along, which still doesn't make sense to me, because why, when you disconnect the keyboard, was it okay? And you connect the keyboard on the USB panel on the front, it's okay. So I'm not sure what all testing back and forth he did to conclude that, but at one point he was concluding his keyboard was messed up. And then at another point he was concluding that his game controller, oh, that's one of the USB connections, is his game controller for playing games. So at one point he thought that was the source of the trouble. And I don't know when he was diagnosing that, whether he had the extensions back in place or not. So I don't know all the details. I trust Tony to finish that all out. But the points that I wanted to make in this story is that sometimes you gotta see the symptom and see the computer. And I'm not sure if I would have got to that about the extension cables without seeing it, and particularly without seeing the symptom. Now, again, I don't recollect that Tony ever told us about that. When he tries to make it scroll up, it would go up and then go right back down. All I recall that he said is that he couldn't scroll up. So seeing the symptom, troubleshooting principle here, see the symptom. If you're trying to help somebody just verbally by their description and it's not working, then you got to see the symptom, or very helpful to see the symptom, and then actually see the computer, particularly if it's something to do with a peripheral such as keyboard and mouse. So I'm very grateful for Tony to bring that to us, and also very grateful he gave me a very generous PayPal contribution after it was all said and done. Not expected, always appreciated. So thank you very much, Tony. As I glance over at chat, I don't see him in chat. Yeah, I think I've got so many things that happened this week in my work that I think are fascinating, interesting stories. I'm intending and trying to evolve my channel more to where the content in the videos are intended to be addictive to certain kinds of people. The kinds of people that I want to try to become addictive to is Windows support providers. And I'll define Windows support providers as people who are supporting businesses, home users, friends, neighbors, relatives, their dog, their cat, for any problem they're having with their Windows computer, whether they're being paid for it or not. To accomplish that, I think the videos need to contain these kinds of stories, tips, techniques, and whenever possible, live troubleshooting from people that have sent me emails or comments on videos or questions in chat. I do have a couple of emails, but neither of them are questions. In
Read chat, please.
In comments. Yes, Z. I'll come to that in just one moment after I finish this piece. One of the comments I was holding on to was Tony's comment, and I think this has probably been superseded, but this one was, I don't have the red dot still. Just to follow up on today's stream, yeah, so that was on Saturday. The two mice in question were Microsoft Optical and HP Optical. Before I got the update for, that's the reason I held on to this. Before I got the update for 24, H224, I get, why am I saying that wrong? Whatever, 24H2, or the current version of Windows 11, on the previous version, it was working fine, but for some reason on this new version, it doesn't. That's what my issue is. Yeah, this one I wanted to point out, because a lot of times when somebody's telling you about a problem they're having with their computer, they'll say, it's not been working ever since such and such happened. That doesn't mean that such and such is what caused it to happen. You say, well, I didn't have the problem before that. Now I have a problem. Well, it's kind of like saying you're driving down the road, you get a flat tire, and you look back, it must be because I went through that intersection. Well, I didn't have a flat tire before going through that intersection. Now I have a flat tire. It must be that intersection. Well, it could have been, but not necessarily. You could have had a nail in your tire for days and a slow week. A slow week for days. I don't know what I was trying to say there. They're getting worried about me now. He already can't keep his sentences straight. And then he says, I didn't have any problems on Windows 10 either. Yeah, well, again, that doesn't mean that is the source of the trouble. So be careful on misleading suspicions when you're troubleshooting. Okay, so let's get to that. I think it was Zvi Minor with a read chat, please, and giving us an update on a topic that he brought up last week. Pretty sure it was he brought it up last week. And let's see. And I saw your comment in chat earlier on the same subject. This time he gave me a !C. I solved the PDF preview problem for one of my clients, removed the 6791 update into Windows 10. Yeah, I think that's what I reported as my solution for it. And Kerry Holzman was in chat and talking about that too. And he took us to some kind of a driver update, which turned out to be the same thing. It was the cumulative update for October. So that's the exact same solution I was reporting last week. I don't know if you realize that, because the way you worded it, it sounds like that was new information. Okay, let's see if there's any other !Cs I missed. Nope. Let's put on the show, Doug, at 11:09. I guess that was just a word of encouragement. Okay. Are there any Are there any questions? Chris. I never did hear from you, Chris. Did you see that I gave you the song you were asking for last week? Oompa. Well, I can't even think of the name of their group. I don't know if you even saw that last week. All right. One of the things, one of the emails that I saved was actually from myself. And this is
read chat, please.
Just a crazy thing. Ken Stout says 11:14. Okay, I haven't got started with this yet, so I'll go check out your 11:14. Why do I do that with Ken Stout? I know it's not going to be something that helps get Windows support providers addicted. I know him. 11:14, Ken Stout. Well, right here. Do you know the final outcome for Tony? Were you not listening? Well, if you've not been watching since the beginning, what I reported to you is what I know. So he's saying, do you know the final outcome for Tony? Well, if there's been some development that I don't know, then I don't know that I don't know it. What I do know is what I just reported. It says, and I know the final outcome. I'm not sure you do. The way that was changing so much, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something more. Go ahead and tell me the final outcome. Chris says, I was going to wake up last week when the show started. It seems videos are not auto-starting. I have to hit refresh. And I fell asleep 30 minutes after it started, so he didn't get to see it. Elvira was the song. He hasn't actually started. Troll. You troll, Jim. Should I hit him with a little slap on the wrist for troll? There you go. Lightweight. That's lightweight. Nobody's going to get upset about that. Oh, I was getting, before Ken distracted me. Gonna go show this one. Get it lined up, and I need to do a blur. Oh, yay. Because I always need to practice that. Picking which blur I'm going to use because one of them might be closer than the others to the arrangement that I need. Turn that blur on and then move it into position. And like that. Okay. That should work. And then to even ensure better, I should preview that big to be sure you can't read through the blur. Oh, there's another blur I need. And I'm still mostly, I display things from clients' computers when I already have their permission and they know that I do teaching stuff on the internet, and the things that I risk accidentally showing are generally not a big crisis anyway. Okay, so here we go. Transition. And then make that, let's see, I'm going to turn off studio mode and make that big here. Okay, so I got a couple of blurs there, but I had to do a complete rebuild, reinstall of Windows for a client's computer. It's an HP computer. And the story about why we had to rebuild from scratch provides a couple other interesting points for Windows support providers. But here I used the HP detection, their thing for installing drivers. And after it completed and finished, I still have devices not installed, device drivers not working right. Now, I've come across this before. It was no surprise. But just pointing out, detection was successful, but you don't need any new software or drivers at this time. Visit the product homepage for support options. This has been a thing with HP computers for some of them for a long time. When particularly this SM bus controller, I've had many times where that's the only one left. And it's not too hard to go find the right driver, but it's not stored in the drivers for the computer in question. So thank you, HP. And this is one of the reasons why I kind of resist reinstalling, because there can be, that's just one of the complications. And then the other complications is, does the user rely upon software that they don't have current rights to or license, or the software? So we got to go find that, and all kinds of things that can crop up. So that, I actually sent that email to myself with the description of, here's one of the reasons why I resist reinstalling. Now, the story about why. Before I get into that, I'm going to see if Ken Stout gave me the final story on Tony. I mean, I could go back and see the last thing that he sent to me, but I don't know if that's the final. And each one of them, I was suspecting, yeah, are you sure? After all you did in the homies, it turned out to be the game coach. Yeah, that's the last thing I heard from him. So I did hear that piece. I'm not convinced of that. But because I don't know the troubleshooting steps that he used for that. It could be completely true, but my observation is that when we removed those extensions, the problem disappeared. The game controller was still connected. Now, with those extensions disconnected and his keyboard and mouse connected to the front, I see that, Ken. If the problem then reappeared with those extensions not connected, the problem reappeared, then he disconnected the game controller, well, maybe. But still, that sounds kind of intermittent. So until you find what you suspect is the problem, take it away. The problem's gone. Now connect it back. The problem's back. Okay, not done. Disconnect it again. Problem disappears. Okay, that makes it a little more convincing, but we're not done. Connect it again. See that the problem comes back. Intermittent problems can be really tricky to deal with. And those extensions, once they're separated, meaning they're probably no longer on the same USB controller, and they're not physically in proximity to each other, maybe they're working better, but then let's suppose the symptom comes back. Well, the problem might actually be that there's some kind of microfractures in the wire, or some kind of weakened insulation, and just the manipulating of the wire is enough to get the symptom to come back or to go away. And it very well could be even the first manipulations of those wires and putting them in other ports, what really solved or made the symptom not reappear is just the fussing with the cables. Now they're connected and they're working okay. And if that's the intermittent issue that's going on, it's possible that symptom might not appear again for months down the road. And then it does appear. And then you realize, all right, I guess I didn't have it solved after all. So when I'm working with a client, here's another tip for my effort towards becoming addictive to Windows support providers is when I'm working with a client to solve a problem, I rarely ever, and I probably need to slap myself on the hand if I do, I rarely ever tell them that's the solution. It's fixed. Unless I've known from past experience of that symptom in that office. But for something like this, I'll tell them, well, it looks like that fixes it. So that's most likely the problem. But if it comes back, we may have to do something else. Now, what happens, I've had this happen many times, is I'll give them that kind of an answer that here's what I did, and I'm going to be honest with them. I'm not going to BS them about that to try to, cover what effort I did that didn't work out. And I'll tell them I did all this stuff, and then it seems like this simple thing fixed it. But if it comes back, then maybe not. There may be an intermittent issue somewhere going around. I do not want to leave. I do not want to give them a high confidence that that was the problem, because here's what can happen. 2 days later, they call back and say, no, the problem's back. You were wrong. Or here's something that I've seen happen. 2 months down the road, you ask, how did that thing work out? Did that stay fixed? And they say, well, no, it didn't. And I worked with someone else and they found the actual problem and fixed it. My coworker fixed it. Maybe they didn't go seek another technician, but somebody else fixed it. So that's the problem that you run into if you say it's fixed. I always try to give them some kind of reason for doubt. And it's not me doubting my skills. It's me giving the benefit of my experience, because these computers, Microsoft software, they are all in the business of working against us. Not us, the Windows support providers, but us, the Windows support providers and the end user. We are on the same team. Me and the end user, we're on the same team. The opponent is the computers, Microsoft, and Windows. So we're doing our best to figure things out. So when you give them the understanding that this actually might not be solved, what happens 2 days later, 2 weeks later, and they call back and say, you were right. It was not solved. Or they call back and say, you were right. It is solved. That did solve it. When you give them that possibility that this may be the long-term solution, or the problem may come back, we might have to readdress it. No matter what happens, they come back and say, you were right. I've had that happen many times. And that is a technique that gets your client, whether they're paying money or just paying an appreciation, it gets them more convinced that you know what you're doing because you were right. Now you set yourself up with a win-win situation. No matter what happens, you were right. So, yes, Oystein. I see that. Oystein says, Doug is always right. Whoops, I got to get out of this Ken Stout thing. Doug is always right. And you are, if you pitch the work that you did correctly, you will always be in the right. Tip for Windows support providers. I think somebody's following a game. Yep. So I'm not going to try to catch up with that. Okay, now, why did I have to rebuild that computer? How many addictive things can I come up with for Windows support providers? This was kind of a high-end HP computer. I know some of you are going to want to know, what do you mean high-end, Doug? When I first came across this, first glance of this computer, I assumed it was a custom build, but it wasn't. I'm going to look for that. Let's see. The name is, who is it? Oh, yeah. Now, this is a client that I don't quite consider to be a managed support type situation. He's a business operating from his home, and basically I do what he asks me to do and make recommendations along the way. Let's see, where is that going to be? Should be over here. Okay. Yeah. Now, how much of this can I show? Let's see, I've got to get rid of that whole panel.
Red chat, please.
Get to that in a moment. Yeah, looks like this is all good. Let's take a preview peek at what that read chat please was. HP Omen. Yeah, but wow, okay. So John Williams was predicting in chat that it's an HP Omen based upon my description. So let me zoom this up a little bit. Is it going to let me do that? Zoom, so it's a better size for you. Yeah, and I'm being real careful to make sure I'm not exposing anything here. This client also would be okay with it, but I'm trying to be good about this. Yeah, Omen. And I got all the blurs turned off. HP Omen, Obelisk, i5 9400. When I first got involved with this client, he was it was Windows 10. So when I first saw Windows 10, I said, oh, and we may have to replace that computer until I looked a little bit further and find that we could upgrade it. We did upgrade it. It's already been upgraded. Specifically listed Fresno install of Windows 24. I think that must have been fresh install. It does not have Windows. Okay. The reason I was saying this is because the HP website does not have Windows 11 drivers. It was sold with Windows 10 on it, and you simply cannot select. You want Windows 11 drivers. Well, in that case, you just use the Windows 10 drivers. And that is not the explanation why all the drivers didn't work. It's HP has just been that way forever. Okay, so what happened? He called me Monday? Yeah, probably Monday this last week. I think it must have been. Yeah, Monday this week. And told me his computer he described what's a boot loop, where it says trying to repair and then gets to a troubleshooting screen. And I'm not sure which screens he was getting, but it was just going round and round in the same screens and failing to boot the computer. I said, well, I'll need to pick it up and work on it over here. So I picked it up on my way to another appointment. And Jim says, spinning metal died. No, I don't think, well, no, this would happen even with an SSD. So I'm not going to say spinning metal died. However, I took the opportunity, and not BitLocker, that's Jim's next suspicion. He told me that he's got a job. He's in the printing business. He creates the print master, sends it to a print shop, and they print it up. So he had a client that needs new forms, a reprint of forms. He didn't even need to make any changes. He just had to export it again and email it to the printer. So he's kind of eager to get this done. And I didn't know at the time the reasoning behind this is because his customer has these forms that are numbered, serial number like, and his customer was running out of forms.
Read chat,
because
please.
their staff don't ask for more forms promptly. I see Zavi Minor saying after a Microsoft update. Nope, that wasn't it. So this is kind of a good technique. I like this. Keep putting in your guesses about why this was in this boot loop and why I wound up having to rebuild from scratch. And the story will come out as we go. So he's really eager for it. And I'm thinking, oh man, he's just eager for it. Is it really all that much of a hot burner issue? But so I go ahead and I just accept his word for it. And so I put him on the front burner and I'm trying to get the thing fixed and back to him quickly. Well, he's been out of the country for a month and a half, something like that, he tells me. And he just got back. Now he's got this rush job. Before he left for his trip, it was already in that boot loop. It was already stuck in that boot loop. Somewhere along the line. Now, I didn't tell him.
Raid chat, please.
I didn't tell him, why didn't you call me before you went on your trip? Now, I see John Williams saying Optane Drive. Yes. Yes. But that's not the source of, that's not why I had to rebuild from scratch. But yes, that computer is an Optane HP computer. When I first opened the case and I saw that M.2 drive, thought, wait a minute, I thought this had a spinning disk in it. And then I realized, oh, that's Optane. Oh boy. Jim saying BIOS changed from AHCI to RST or reverse. And that was on my mind too, but no, that was not it. At some point, I'm going to make a comment here and some of you are going to jump on it. Oh, I shouldn't have given you that clue. All right, but anyway. So my technique, again, pointers for Windows support providers, how you interact with people. I did not chastise him for not calling me before he went on the trip. He volunteered that later, and he apologized for not having done that. People know what they did wrong. They can figure it out. And if you don't, my opinion, if you don't confront them, if you don't chastise them for things, then they're not going to be reluctant to talk to you. If they're reluctant to talk to you because they think they're going to get chastised, then they're not going to come to you early on in the problem. My opinion, my experience works out really great. He also profusely thanks me just about every time I work with him for my patience with him. Jim says, oh, they know what they did wrong. They just don't want to admit it. Well, now sometimes that's true. But if they know, I don't need to hammer them with it. I want them to enjoy the interaction with me, and that keeps them coming back and referring other people to me. Some people, you don't know, you may not know this, but some of your clients out there, if you're the confrontational type, they might be telling that story because out of their frustration or their embarrassment or something, they might tell that to somebody else, and that somebody else is not going to want to use you. All right, so where am I at? Yeah, so it was stuck in it was in that boot loop before he left on his trip. I'm deliberating at what point do I tell you this piece that's the major clue. Okay, I bring the computer back here. That day, the rest of Monday was shot for me. So I start working on it Tuesday morning. First thing I do is take the drive out and I want to try to get an image backup of it before I start trying to do anything with it. So I got a drive toaster there. I don't think I've ever shown it to you guys. I bought it not too long ago. Actually, I got two. A drive toaster and another just single slot for SATA drives. Because the devices I had before were USB 2. I got to update that. So then I tried to create an image backup from that using Baby Beast. And it just crashes right away, fails right away, tells me to run check disk. So I run check disk and it found a bunch of stuff and fixed a bunch of stuff and still won't do a backup. And I wound up doing using a third-party tool. Can you guess what tool I picked up before I go find the name? Because I didn't have one on on hand. I just have not had much call for them. So a third-party tool to fix file problems. There it is. Let's see if anybody guessed it.
Read chat, please.
Not Macrium. That's a backup software. I was using Macrium Reflect for doing the backups, but I don't think it has a program that competes with Check Disk. Okay, I'm not seeing it. So partition mini tool partition wizard is what I use. So it did the process pretty quickly. I looked at, well, EasyUS was also on my mind, but that's not the one that I did. Get data back was not it from Greg. And I think also I see Greg M saying GPT corrupted. No, I don't. You might be able to make a case for that. Sam Lazar says Fab's auto backup. No. And Fab's auto backup isn't going to fix damaged file tables. Sam Lazar says he uses Mini Partition Wizard. So then I was able to do an image backup. And I did it to, I did the image backup to one of my external drives. And then next, do I then put his drive back in the computer and see if it will boot? What would be a better thing to do at that point? Because I don't know what I'm facing yet. What would be a better thing to do rather than put his hard drive back in the computer and continue trying to fix it? Ken says, call Ghetto. Did he format a partition rather than a USB flash drive by accident? No. John Williams, I use Disk Genius. Think there's a partition fix. It's this spinning disk is a 1 terabyte. I think Tim was talking about his external drive. The drive that I did, now he's got 700 gigabytes, over 700 gigabytes of used space on his 1 terabyte drive. So I think I used an 8 terabyte backup drive. No, Ken, it was not yours. And Oystein says, clone the disk. Kind of close. Run virus checks as far as what I do before putting his drive back in. Tim's talking about his. No, so what it is restore the image to an SSD. I mean, I'm probably going to have some work to do. It's going to be faster on an SSD. I had previously talked to him about why his computer seems slow during certain processes. It's probably because you got that spinning drive in there. So I just took that opportunity to just restore to a 1 terabyte SSD. I haven't even told him that yet. I just did it. Under the theory that it's going to take me less time to do what I need to do next. So he's going to save some of my time. And compared to the price with the cost he's going to be paying for my time on this, the cost of an SSD is insignificant. I didn't even talk to him about it. Just do it. That's the kind of relationship that I build with my clients. Even though this has not been a long-term client, he fully trusts me. Okay, so restore to an SSD and then put it in his computer, still boot loop. So the fixes of the file structure did not fix it. So I did a few other things in trying to get that drive back operational. But I didn't go real far with that because I know that this user doesn't use a lot of different software. His main focus is Corel Draw for designing things that are going to be printed. So I know that I'm probably just going to have to reinstall that. At that point in time, I wasn't absolutely certain, excuse me, if he had current license for that. But later when I looked in my notes, I saw that I had in my notes information about his current subscription. I actually had enough information to install it. All right, so now I haven't told you yet why this all happened. What is the cause of the problem? It's reasonable deduction of what the cause of the problem is. So I install Windows from scratch, install the drivers like I mentioned to you before, jumping through some extra hoops to do that. Install Corel Draw, the whole Corel suite, actually. And then I use Fab's Auto Backup to copy his user profile from that damaged backup, from the image backup. I mount that using Macro Reflect. I mount that as a mounted drive. And then, oh, you know what I actually did is I copied the profile. What did I do? No, I mounted it. Yeah, I mounted it. Using Macro Reflect, and then use Fab's Auto Backup to transfer the profile. Not restore the profile, but transfer the profile from one drive to another, from one drive letter to another. And that gave us all of his desktop icons. Before actually doing that transfer, I was able to see that Fab's Auto Backup sees that there is a Google Chrome content. So I say, aha, before transferring the profile, I need to install Google Chrome on the newly formatted, on the newly installed Windows 11. So I did that. And I'll look through the rest of the things that Fabs was identifying to see if there's anything else that I should pre-install before doing the profile transfer. Because if I do the profile transfer before the software is present, then things don't, I might have to do the transfer again later. So anyway, I do that. Wound up getting the computer pretty much looking the way that he was used to, because all the icons go back onto his desktop the way that they were. I think I resolved a couple other issues that I became aware of once I saw what icons he had. Delivered the computer yesterday. While I was there, we tested Corel Draw, had him open up the project for his client, had him actually export it to PDF, had him email it to his printer, and call his printer to be sure the printer could open it, and it worked fine, to be sure he got out, and that worked. Now, while I was there side by side with him, he didn't make any comment about it seeming faster. I still haven't given you a clue, because I don't know how to slip this in discreetly. He had told me about an issue that he was having where his computer was crashing about every 2 weeks. Okay, now I'm starting to realize a way that I can give you clues. His computer was crashing about every 2 weeks, and he'd have to turn it on. Sometimes it would go through a self-repair. And this has been going on for months. I didn't look. I don't know if I can even look at this point to see how many recordings of improper shutdown was experienced by the computer through the event viewer. About every 2 weeks. And I think it maybe is exactly 2 weeks. Lawn Dog says, sound like drive is starting to fail. Nope, that wasn't it. The drive is fine. I'm sure I could reformat the drive and use it around here for whatever I care to. Buffering. All right, I'm checking. I do have 0.4% dropped frames. They're not going up at the moment. And let's see, I don't have frames missed due to rendering lag or encoding lag, but I do have dropped frames. 0.4%, 350 dropped frames, but I don't see that number going up right now. Is anyone else, is that enough of a tip for anybody? Anybody who has experienced this, that 2-week increment would be a clue. How else? He told me that there's been no power. Well, that his house does occasionally experience power outages, but these problems are happening otherwise. Oystein with a $100 I almost remember what that is. Whatever that translates to. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Oystein. Let's see. Sam Lazar says, sometimes clients will get me to fix their computer and needs new CMOS battery. If it's ultra cheap while I'm doing something else, I will order one, replace it, put it on the count. Yeah, I just keep them on hand. Except for the last detail, almost being cyclic problem, the drive would be the first thing to suspect. Why would you think every 2 weeks would be that? Ken says, thanks to Oystein. Norwegian kroner. All right. Yeah. I think that was kind of where my mind was going. Kroner, not crooner. It's not one of Bing Crosby's songs. For those of you who are going that way.
Read chat, please.
What else could I say? Norway krona. Well, Oystein is saying kroner. He's the one that gave it. He's the one that deals with that. So I'm going to accept Kroner rather than Crona. What else could I say? Because it's kind of, I don't know, is it anticlimactic? But there's also some extra things that I learned about it. So anyway, I got to stop dragging it out. He suspected what was causing those reboots was his battery backup. How could a battery backup be causing the computer to crash every 2 weeks? See if anybody knows this. Oh, he was right. Why? Who knows why a battery backup can actually cause a computer to crash? For this particular model of UPS, every 2 weeks, it is scheduled. It's actually scheduled every 2 weeks to crash the computer. Jim, absolutely. I know Jim's come across this before. Because I think I've heard him talk about it. Self-test on UPS.
Raid chat, please.
Task scheduler, as Greg says. Task schedule. I don't think the UPS does that on a task schedule because this actually happens in the UPS itself. It's not coming from Windows. It happens from the battery backup itself. Failed to back up. Oh, now that's another subject. Don't let me forget to tell you about the backup issue because I had to rebuild, right? From scratch. Doug, why didn't you just restore from backup? Well, that's another story. Krona is Czech. Oh, okay. So there's a difference. They spell it different, or it's actually different currency, probably. Battery was bad. No, not according to the self-test. But that's a matter of degree. That's a matter of definition. The little nuance there. Ken says, I give up. How? After hearing the clues, kind of makes hard to determine what the next logical step is. Oystein says, wow. Something technicians need to learn, takes time. USB cable connection to the PC, no. And I don't think that would have solved this. Software that comes with UPS graceful shutdown to test, that would not have solved this. Reasonable thought. Not an update failed. Not out-of-date software. Unless there's the firmware for the backup possibility. UPS automated self-test, yes. That's what did Jim, did he actually say the self-test? I think he did. Battery was bad. No, self-test. Yeah, he said the self-test. The self-test is what triggered it. Yeah, backup, we don't need no stinking back. That's what the client decided after I just told him what's going on and why. He said, let's just go without it. And I kind of gave him the choice, gave him the advantages and disadvantages both ways, and told him that I don't use a battery backup. John Williams thinks he was shorted points. What was that for? What did you say that you were? Was it because of something you said? Or you think you were shorted points on the automatic 50 points per minute that you're active in chat? Yeah, I don't think it was for a solution that you provided. Battery ending low voltage. That might be right on point. If the battery is more than 4 years, it's bad. Probably didn't like putting a load on it. And that's on point too. So what I found in researching this a little bit further is the way this particular model of APC, UPS, it's an APC backup, the way its test mode works. And this is from an AI description. So take it with a grain of salt, but it sounds reasonable, is that what it does when it goes into test mode, it does not disconnect the computer from electrical. It does not switch the computer to run off of battery, because that would be your first suspicion. That's what I used to think, is that it goes into self-test mode by switching to battery powers, providing battery power to the computer. And what I found is no, that's not what it does. It does a test of the battery to see if it's okay, but the computer is still getting AC power. Problem is that test passes because it passes the threshold that the test is testing for. But then when the test ends, that test procedure has drained the battery enough to where the UPS then decides the battery is too weak, and in order to protect against damage to the UPS, it's going to shut everything off right now. Now, that was the description that the AI gave me. If somebody finds documentation to the contrary, I'll consider it. But that was a fascinating thing, and it's believable that it drains the battery enough. The battery is at just at that point where the UPS then decides it's too weak and it's going to shut everything off. So his computer had been shut off over and over and over. By that time, the file system was so damaged. I mean, I did rebuild BCD. I did the various repair commands, and that didn't fix it. So I hadn't heard this description before. And the the moral of the story and the slap on the hand for me is that I think he had told me before that his battery was suspect. And the reason why I hadn't checked it out yet is because I've been just so super busy, distracted with urgent problems, and doggone it anyway. Now, I haven't told you about the backup yet. Doug, why didn't you restore from backup? I did configure his computer to do a full backup. Probably, actually, I was able to get that backup configuration from the damaged image, the image backup of his damaged drive. So I was able to look at it to see what I configured. And I think it was full backup at the beginning of the month and then differential backups every day. I had done that. I had tested its functionality. Here's the problem. The time that I did that, he had brought his computer over here to my house for a specific task. He wanted me to search for a particular file. So he brought it here. He stayed here with me. We did that search for the file he wanted, did not find it. And I said, let's get the backups configured. So right here with him, side by side with me, we configured the backups. And I think he had brought his external drive along. So we connected it. So we had the right drive letter, had a folder. But remember, 700 gigabytes. So we did not actually do the first backup here. He took the computer back home. And what happened? Can you guess? What happened? I'm going to give you a chance to answer this. There's conversation going on still about the battery. I'm not going to try to keep up with all that unless you give me an exclamation mark C for a specific comment. I'm looking to see if you answer what happened. Macro Reflect installed on his computer. Free version. Wintermute. He never plugged the external drive in. He never plugged it in. Plug it in, plug it in. Where's that from? Is that a meme from somewhere? Plug it in, plug it in. I don't know. Doug, don't ever sing again. That wasn't singing. Oh, he never plugged it in. So Wintermute was first on that, I think. Selden Ball, the external drive wasn't plugged in when the backup was scheduled to never plugged in ever since he took it back. And when I went to pick up his computer and the backup drive and the battery backup from his home office, he told me, he volunteered that the backup drive had not been connected to the computer. Glade commercial. Oh, that's it. Tim Crews got that. Glade. Oh, Adam Linus. Adam Linus. Adam came up with that first. That's not quite worth as much as a tech answer, but I'll give you points for that. Oh man, if he had just plugged that in. Oh. Now, I made money off of doing the repair. I did not need that. I far would have preferred to just restore from backup because I'm way too friggin' busy right now. So spending that time working on his, I have new computers still that people are waiting on. I would have rather have not had to done that. Now, if I had the paid version, some of my clients have a paid version of Macrim Reflect on their computers. The beautiful thing about that is I configure it to send me confirmations every day, every freaking time it does a backup. It doesn't take me long to confirm it. I get this whole list of emails. They all come in at the beginning of the day. They're here the first
Read
time I
chat,
go look at
please.
the email, and I just like success. So I click on one, shift click on the last, just be sure they all say success, and then delete them. Or do I delete them? I think I click them on unread, so that I have a history. It doesn't really matter because I have the history on the computer anyway, because that's what the paid version will do. I do the paid version when it's something that is really important, and where it's not just a workstation in the office, but it's like a server, or it's like the bookkeeper's computer. But this guy, I think we need to go with the paid version for him. I do not trust him to keep checking on that. But the thing is, he's actually retired. He sold his business. He retired to his house. He's just doing occasional work for clients. He's not doing a lot. So he's more cost conscientious now, but still. What was that last? I pointed out the Optane drive and the make of that computer. Oh, yeah, you're right. You did. Thank you. Thank you for declaring that, John. Absolutely, I want to give you points for that. And you volunteered that, the Optane drive. That wasn't in response to my question. I'm not sure if I'm being quite fair with that, but hopefully nobody's cares enough about the points to really get upset. Greg, I have lost count how many times I have set up this for home users. They never remember to plug in the drive. And that's why a lot of times, instead of using an external drive, I'll make a partition even on their boot drive. I'll make a partition if there's a bunch of excess space. The space is there. You've already paid for it. You're not using it for anything. So I make a partition there, and I'll do backups to there and do backups to the external drive. I have restored more often from the second partition on the one drive that's installed in the computer. I have done more restores from that than from external drives. External drives, I've seen it's unplugged, the power's out, the power switch on the drive accidentally got turned off. It is connected, it is powered on, but it's just the computer's not seeing it. The computer sees it as a different drive because last time they restarted the computer, they had a USB drive connected, and that USB drive took a drive letter first before the external backup drive. So now it's on the wrong drive letter. So many things can go wrong with an external drive. If I have available drive space on the installed internal drive, I'll make a partition there and be doing a backup there. Depending upon the circumstances of the computer, I may or may not also have an external drive. Ideally, do both. Can't count how many times I set up for home users. They never remember to plug that in. Take that option away from them by using or I've even added a second drive in the computer. I don't like doing it on these mini computers because I don't trust their heat management. I did do that once. It did not work out very well. And you remember that overheating computer that I showed you on during the stream. I even scheduled a pop-up on their computer screen to remind them. Another thing you could do is schedule recurring emails from you, reminding them to do it. Even ask them to reply. So you get a reply email once in a while. Quick and easy for you to look at. Takes a lot more time to reinstall everything. Yeah. Fortunately, this guy doesn't have everything isn't a whole lot of stuff. Jim, dump all my macro backups to my NAS. Yeah, I'm intending to do that. The NAS that Carrie Holzman gave me is currently on loan to the Law 40 office. When I got that configured and switched over, hopefully, I think I'll be taking the Thanksgiving break for doing that. And then I'll get them a rack mount after I'm a little more settled on how I want to do that. And then that device will come back here, and yeah, all my macro backups will go to the NAS, not only for my computers, but for my client computers. I have a variety of external drives in here that I almost always do an image backup of a client's computer when it's in here, just as an extra resource. You're welcome, John Williams, for the points. And thank you again for letting me know. Please, anybody, if you've done something that you know that I like to give points for, please let me know. And if somebody else wants to think on them, if you want to be a tattletale, if you want to be a narc and narc on somebody else that they're deserving of points, please do that. What kind of NAS? That is Synology. Yeah, it's a Synology NAS, the one that Carrie gave me. And I'll be getting a Synology NAS for my clients. I don't want to use any other lesser known brand because I'm a beginner with them. There's so much history out there with Synology. I don't know what generation it is. That's not conversation right now that's going to get any Windows support provider more addicted to the channel by me answering your curiosity questions. Okay, so on that one case, the things where they well-intentioned, thoughtful, but negligent client neglected to press me on the UPS issue. I neglected to follow up on the UPS issue. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. He neglected to have the backup drive installed. But I'm not taking away points from me for that because I did my part on that. I could have had the conversation with him about paid version of Macrim Reflect so that I get email confirmations. I will have that conversation with him because I did not know that he might not plug it in. At one point in one of our phone conversations, he said, it's not plugged in yet because we were like, there was some reason why we agreed not to plug it in. I don't think that was the case. Okay. AI. AI. I've been using AI a lot for a variety of things, including writing code, writing Visual Basic for Applications code and C# code and PowerShell code. Every freaking single time it doesn't work. And I have to, I lead it through troubleshooting, I give it prompts, and then I typically have to go actually read the code and I find where it was wrong. This morning, 1 hour before showtime, I'm working on Visual Basic for Applications, Excel specifically, working on a project for a law office client that's getting audited regarding their trust account. And they manage the trust account in QuickBooks, QuickBooks 2016 Pro. QuickBooks is not designed to manage trust accounts for law offices. The software that is designed for that is very expensive. So many years ago, maybe 2 decades ago, I don't know how long ago. Well, this version right now we're using is 2016, so that means less than 10 years, but we were using a different version before that. Somewhere back in history, I designed a system to manage trust accounts that works, gives us everything that we need for managing the trust accounts, but it doesn't give us the right report that the auditor wants. So now the auditor wants this specific report. So what I did is export the reports that have the information to Excel, and then use Visual Basic for application macros to manipulate that to get it into the format that the auditor wants. Well, this morning, I'm working on a particular piece of the process where I wanted to eliminate certain transactions from the check register because the auditor doesn't want to see those. What? Doug, why doesn't the auditor want to see every transaction? Well, these transactions, the account code for this checking account is 1031. If you're not familiar with account codes, that doesn't matter. It's just, I think you can say 1031 is a number assigned to this checking account. Well, we have a 1031A and a 1031B and a 1031C and a 1031D. Each of those sub-accounts of the checking account track certain types of information. 1031-A tracks the actual trust accounts. 1031B is where money gets moved to that sub-account for the money that the attorneys earn. So money is sitting there in trust. Occasionally the attorneys have earned money, so that gets moved to 1031B, and then a check is written from 1031B to pay the attorneys. Well, in the parent level of the check register, those transactions where we are moving money from 1031A to 1031B are called allocations. There's no check number because there's no check written. We're just moving money from 1031A to 1031B. The auditor doesn't need to see those transactions. And they actually told it. We gave them those first. They said that's just confusing. Those are not actual transactions that are related. The bank never sees those transactions. So we're going to eliminate those. Scott says, sounds like we're doing taxes. What we're doing here is Windows support provider that has some edge cases. I do some support outside of what many technicians would do. What I'm actually talking about here is the AI problem, because Windows support providers can and should be, in my opinion, utilizing AIs. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle, a little bit of a learning curve, but use AIs to help with what you're doing. But don't trust them. Well, trust but verify. So basically, I let it create the code, and then I apply the code and I try it. And I say, oh, it's not right. So I take a screenshot of it and I paste that into the chat window. Here's what's wrong. Here's what happened. It's not right. Try again. So it gives me revised code. It gives me this long explanation about what was. I don't read that. I don't read that. Just give me the code again and try it again. Still doesn't work. Third time, still doesn't work. Okay, I gotta go read the code now. And I ask it, okay, show me the portion of the code that selects the call that finds the allocation records in the register. So it displays just that bit of code for me. And I see that it's looking in column C for the term ALLOC. It's looking in column C. And I respond to it and say, the ALLOC designation is not in column C, it's in column D. Please adjust accordingly. I click for it to go through. It gives me revised code. I copy and paste that into the macro. Boom, it works just like a charm. The point is, AI can make such stupid, elementary mistakes. Over and over and over. If the AI was human, I have fired the AIs. I'll say, after we get to a point, it's not working, I say, this is not working. I want you to give me a prompt that I can use with another AI. I actually tell it, I'm going to use this with one of your competitors. I want you to give me a prompt that I can use with another AI to resume this project. I want you to cover all the stuff that we have done in summary, what the objective is, and what you think the next step should be. Then I'm going to copy and paste that into another AI and let it take a stab at it. And I'm working with currently, I'll use Copilot for Windows, Copilot for Edge, which is some nuanced differences, but very similar, same. And I also use, let's see, what's all the other stuff that I'm using now? I should, my Google Chrome opens up with all of my AI systems, almost all of them active. What do I need to do there? Hit F11 and get out of that. Okay, so I use Gemini Google, and I use Google AI Studio, and I am using Manus.im, and I'm using ChatGPT, and I am using Copilot for GitHub. That's what I use within StreamerBot to create the C# code from there. It's actually Copilot for GitHub. Really cool. You can put in a comment on the screen where you're writing your code, instructing it what to do. And then when you go down to the code line, well, actually just on the next line, just press enter at the end of that comment. And then just type any letter whatsoever, and it's going to suggest the code. And then you press tab or enter, and it'll fill out multiple lines of code, whatever it takes to perform the instruction that you gave it in the comment. Really cool. But every one of these AIs usually gets it wrong. And I might be able to lead it with prompts to a solution that works, or I might have to go look at the code myself and figure it out. So the message there, Windows support providers. Do you see me struggle when I say that? Because I still haven't quite got it memorized. But it's a term that I'm growing fond of, whether you're paid money or paid in appreciation. What I'm saying is use AI and sleep around. Be promiscuous with your AI use. They all have different features. Some of them are searchable, some of them are not searchable. They all seem to have history capabilities. Some of them you can rename your chat sessions. Some of them you can't. Some of them you can share. So you can grab a link and put it somewhere. I'm now putting in Microsoft OneNote. When I finish a session, if it's a complex session, I'll ask it to give me a prompt for resuming this later, and then I'll paste that prompt into Microsoft OneNote into an area where I'm accumulating all of my AI activity. Because one of the challenges with being promiscuous, with using a lot of different AIs, is remembering now which AI was I working on that particular project with. How do you get back to that? So I'm documenting that in OneNote. It's a little cumbersome to do that extra record keeping. Okay, but just hilarious, ridiculous about the mistakes that AI does. One of the common mistakes is I'll take a screenshot of something and paste it and ask it to do something with that screenshot. Let's say there's numbers or words in there, and it will give me its reply, what it's going to do. And it's totally hallucinating. The content that it's working with was not in that picture, not similar in any way whatsoever. And I have to tell it, you're hallucinating. Please look again at that picture. And maybe even give it a couple of words that are in that picture. Be sure you see these words. They're there. I promise you. No, I didn't say I promise you. It's working with AI has. What's the similarity between using AI systems and being a Windows support provider and golfing? What's the similarities between those? I don't think I need to give you any more clue about that. I'll give you some time to come up with that. What is the similarities between using AI systems, being a Windows support provider, and being a golfer? Greg M uses
Read chat,
Chat
please.
GPT, Perplexity Pro, and Kagi Assistant. I have experimented a little bit with paid AI. Didn't really solve the issues for me. Ken Stout, are you saying look at Ken's? What? A few more words, please. Ken Stout, a timestamp? Are you trying to get me to look back at Ken Stout? I have no idea what you mean by just saying Ken Stout. See, I go back and look up here at Ken Stout, and I find this. So if you're trying to get me to a particular comment from Ken Stout, you have to give me more words. Use your words. TDIU, no idea what that is. Keep your eye on the ball. Perplexity Pro, not bad. About a $12 voucher off eBay for 1 year subscription. Give one picture, doesn't have the ability to understand it. Oh, another major difference between the different AIs is they have different capabilities of researching out on the internet. The one that does the most research, most thorough research on the internet is Gemini Google. But to do that, you have to click on tools and do deep research, and it will come up with a research plan, and you have to click start research for it to actually start doing the research. Now, another good thing to do with these AIs has to do with versioning, especially when you're asking it for technical stuff. Ask it to research source information that's all published within the last 2 years. Otherwise, it very commonly will give you commands and code and script based on long-standing techniques that have been superseded, that are no longer valid. So sometimes when things aren't working out, I ask it to go do fresh research and look only at documentation that is recently published. You can't say recently. 2 years would be a reasonable number, depending upon what you're doing. Ken is fired. Let's see. Jim retracted. Yeah, nobody's speculating on what is the similarity between those three different pursuits. All right, so I don't see any speculation there. What is the similarity between those three? Is they all are engaged in something that they that they love, that are passionate about, but get very, very frustrated sometimes. So a golfer who's passionate about golf, loves golf, will sometimes throw their clubs into the lake or break their clubs out of frustration. Same is true with people who utilize AI. I'm deducing that, I guess, admittedly. And the same is true with Windows support providers. You can love it with a passion, but sometimes get really, really frustrated with it. That's the similarity between them. It is frustrating at times. So Greg says that he did say that earlier. Other than it's frustrating, he was kind of hinting it. I guess you are responding to my question there. I'll give you that. Yep, they're all frustrating at times. That's really what it is. I got the right Greg there. Slap 500 on you. Try asking an AI to pull together pricing of computer hardware pricing from certain merchants. Some of them can do that better than others. I've been able to ask AI to give me links for such and such, but not all of the AIs can do that. That Gemini definitely can. Gemini takes a long time. Let's see, some other pointers about these. Let's see. Google AI Studio, I don't use quite as much as the others. I would use it more for like images and video, thumbnails. The word studio implying studio type things. View all history. Now here, there's a search field here, so you can search things there. Go back to Gemini. It has a magnifying glass here. You can search. Go to Copilot for Windows. You cannot search. Copilot for Windows. And the key thing in Copilot for Windows is change to Smart GPT-5 or Deep Research. I haven't experimented with that. I always use the Smart GPT-5. It's quick, and I think it does better than the default. If you open the side panel here, here's my history, but they're not searchable. There's no magnifying glass, and Control F does not bring up any kind of a find. They're not searchable. Excuse me. You can rename them here, and you can share them. Now, notice, pick out some of these, like using AASC online. If I go to Copilot for Edge, see, there's a time when I should have take that off screen because I almost exposed my whole email. See if I put a blank in the back. See, I just have Copilot real wide here. See, this is actually the Edge web browser, but Copilot on the right-hand side. If I come up here to the three-dot menu, I get My Conversations on the right-hand side. Okay, Copilot for Windows, it was on the left-hand side to see history. Thank you very much for not being consistent. Go My Conversations, and then here's that AASC. So it's the same conversations, still not searchable. You can do Control F in here, and that brings up a find window, but that's searching on the web page that's over on the left-hand side. It's not searching within here. Now, on the three-dot menus here, you cannot rename. You can send a copy. It's not quite the same as share. Invite someone to look at it. And when you're working with Copilot for Edge, it has a little more capabilities of interacting with the internet. Copilot for Windows has more capabilities of interacting with your computer and not so much with the internet. I think I'm saying that right. Can you search now on any AI that you're working with? Just ask it, can you search the internet for what information do I want to see? Information about MSPs. What does it respond? Quick answer. Did it actually search the internet? That's not what I asked it. Is that a yes or a no? Is that a yes or no? Did you search the internet before responding? No, I did not search the internet. But I sure came from my knowledge. If you like, I can run a live search. Okay, so it's claiming that it can. I can't keep track of what all the AIs, the different things they can do. Some of them can do and others can't. Manus.io. It has a certain amount of credits. And it's weird how it works. It took a little while to figure it out. Daily refresh credits to 300 every day. When I first signed up, it started at 1,500. When I was using the credits, they never rebuilt. So I wound up realizing that you have to go below 300 before it's going to give you any back at midnight. So I drained it all the way down. The next day, I didn't have any credits restored. Now it says credits 0, daily refresh credits. The way I'm understanding this now is I currently have 300 credits that I can use. Whereas when I first saw this screen after draining it all the way down, I thought, well, that means I have 0. And this is informing me that I'll get 300 every day. But I think what this actually means is I have 300 right now in the category of daily refresh credits. It took a while to figure that out. I asked Manus.im. I asked that AI to explain how the credits work. It was totally wrong. Absolutely totally wrong. Because it told me when I get down to like 1,200 at midnight the next day, it'll build me back up. And it went through its reasoning. It said, based on how these things normally work, it wasn't even accessing its own documentation to answer my friggin' question. If there have been questions in chat about people having issues, you got to use an !C or somebody else has to narc on you to bring it to my attention, because I am speaking off the top of my head extemporaneously. Careful pronouncing that word. Apparently somebody's team won. It's always got to be somebody's team that won, right? Even if Ken's team lost. John searches using Amazon. Well, sure, when you're looking to buy something. Try searching Amazon for the right code to use for that Excel worksheet I was working on. You're not going to get it. You might get books. Lawn Dog, should every AI company have free access or have all data collected? No matter who holds the data, they should have free access to it so their AI works more efficiently or better. Okay, so on data collection. Let's see, Marsman. I'll go grab that now. Thanks for your reply to my email to you yesterday. I was not sure it sent correctly. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you know what? I think I have that lined up as a topic. I should go do that. I did one email. Was yours? Oh, yes, that was you. Yeah, because your name came in with your email came in just showing your first and last name. I didn't actually look at your email address, but that correlates that it was Marsman. So yeah, that's worth sharing that with the people. But let me finish on Lawn Dog's question about the data that they collect. So in response to that, let's see, where. Let's see here on this one with, I was using Google AI Studio. This is recent. Down here in the bottom left, Google AI models may make mistakes, so double check outputs. I declare that. That's not what I was looking for. Oh, there it is. Down here at the bottom, your DougBetts chats are not used to improve our models. They do not use my data in Gemini Google. Gemini can make mistakes, so double check it. Now, the reason for that is because I'm using Gemini under a Google workspaces, workplaces for work, something up here in the upper right, because I pay for it. Because I pay for it, they do not use my chats in Gemini Google. I don't know that that's the case with the Google AI Studio. It doesn't make that claim here. And then the other point on the subject, for the most part, I wish the AIs would remember more information about me and collect more information about my interactions with them. I don't give a flying rip if there is some nosy employee at Google that goes to the break room and says, did you see what DougBetts asked the AI about? Of course, they're not doing that. Are they selling my activity, supposedly anonymously, to make money? I don't mind them doing that. That means I get more stuff for free. There's less that I have to pay for. I don't feel put upon at all for them to be making some money selling my data. I know that's not a popular position to take. I can't directly sell it for any significant amount of money. They're getting tiny amounts of money for my data. That just makes things cost less for me. And people will argue against that. Fine, I don't care about it. I'm not going to pursue that argument. It's not worth it. But it makes the computer systems remembering things about me makes life so much easier for me. I just signed up for grocery deliveries from Vaughn's because, once again, I tried out their app, and this time it worked really, really well. The thing I complained about it before, I looked at the Safeway app too, or Save Mart, whatever the other one is having to find what I want. Well, this Vaughn's app gave me a list of the things that I have bought in the past. And I could select from there because I'm very routine about what I buy. And it was so easy to select from there. And there are so many things that I buy basically on a weekly basis. So I'm now subscribed to several things from the grocery store. They come to me as a subscription. I don't even have to go tell the app to send it. If I do nothing, it automatically comes. It sends me an email offering a chance to edit the order. I can add one-time things to that regular order. I can skip things so easily. And it's them collecting information about me that has made that so much easier for me. It saves me a couple hours a week. And my time literally is money. Oh, I'm just digging it. Oh, Darren, He's trying to bring himself up in the YouTube numbering. No, that's membership. It's the crown thing. He's trying to bring himself up in. Hi, Darren. Lawn Dog says, Vaughn's is fantastic. Excellent organization. You really saved money. Yeah, the deal. I'm surprised. I have Arrowhead 24-pack of water come every week. I used to have to go stock up on it every couple of months. Load up my car with it. Now I got set to come one every week. Well, this time it notified me that buy two, get two. So I get a total of 4 for the price of 2. So I said, well, sure, let's do that. And then I'll just change the frequency for my Arrowhead waters for how frequently they come. So now I'll have a little bit of a stack of them, and I might still keep the one a week, because that's about what I use, is one 24-pack a week. I disable that crowns and have been blocked. Oh, so Greg doesn't even see the crowns. You can do that. Let's see. I think you do. Click here. Is that right? There's the current ordering. It's more than just the crowns. It'll show the order for a lot more than just the leaders. Maybe I don't get that capability. Isn't that on this menu? If somebody wants to let people know that, go ahead and tell us how to turn that off, because maybe I don't have that option. Maybe it's somewhere else in your account. There, Greg M. It's under YouTube settings for your account. So let's go check. Whoops, I wasn't showing that. It's under YouTube settings for your account. So again, trying to behave. I'm taking that off screen. Well, yeah, still off screen. So I'll get over here to where I can show. Is it a Google account or YouTube account? Let's see. Google account settings for your account. It seems like that should be the YouTube account. So let's try it here. Go onto your profile icon, and then Studio is where you get to the settings for your YouTube account. Google account would be from here, but that's a lot more broader. Oystein says account privacy under settings. So that sounds like it's going to be here, Google account. So I'm going to click on Google account. That seems like a weird place for them to put it. Now I'm checking this screen to be sure it's okay for me to show this. I haven't clicked on anything else once I got
Read
here.
chat, please.
Greg M says, see my prior post. This prior post is to Scott, what is costly? Before that, if you want to disable YouTube ranking, check under your YouTube account. That's not Google account. Icon in the upper right corner. Settings privacy. Yeah, so not the Google account. Oh, there it is. There's settings. Okay, I didn't go down far enough. That's why. Here's what I did. Click on your profile icon for YouTube. Scroll down, this settings. It would be this settings. And then account privacy. Okay, you can't even see that.
Read chat, please.
Z Menorah says, I would like to not see the excess garbage in the chat. I have a fix in the works for that. Well, will it be? And maybe he's referring to the crowns. So I'm going to click on settings off screen and be sure this is all okay. And then there's privacy. Yeah. So here's okay. So settings and then privacy. So click on privacy here. And then let's see, Greg, YouTube account, settings, privacy, turn off leaderboard participation, privacy. Yeah, I don't see it there. Here, I'm on privacy, leaderboard participation. I don't see that. Oh, here it is. Appear on top
sir.
fans
Hey, Bob.
leaderboards. Is that it? Turn off leaderboard participation.
Red
Appear on top
chat,
fans.
please.
Under live chat. Christine says under live chat. Oh, here. Appear on. So you may be ranked in top fans leaderboards as a viewer or an experience point for your engagement. If you turn this off, you'll be removed from top fans and your previous participant will be removed. So apparently you also can't see others, because that's what we're looking for, is how that you want to turn off so that you don't see others. This is saying you won't appear. So if I turn it off right now, I'm not on the leaderboard, but let's see. Oh, there's somebody on a leaderboard. Okay. So if I say I don't want to be shown anymore, I don't want to appear, does that mean I lose all the other leaderboards and no longer see them? No, I still see that. Maybe I have to refresh. Let's go from here. Now let's just go to the show again. Then I'll pause the playback and see if leaderboard shows up here. The way I understood the wording is it's just going to take me out of participation on a leaderboard. See, here's top fans up here. It still shows. I don't see much chat history. Did I get the right place? Who's recent? Gotta find somebody recent. On leaderboard, there, 1251, Oystein.
Red chat, please.
1251, Oystein. Yeah. Yeah, so the crowns are gone once I refresh, apparently, get a fresh. I still see the crown over here, but I haven't refreshed this chat. All right, I think Greg M was the first to take me to the right place there. And let's throw
Read chat,
points.
please.
Throw points some other people who participated in that. Yeah, but I'm not going to remember, right? Am I? Oystein. Oops, I meant to do that as a 200. Oh, well. That last read chat was, oh yes, Marsman, thank you. And Marsman, I need to hit you with some points. Before I forget, for doing the follow-up email and for reminding me here during the show. I appreciate those very, very much. This is something that can be very useful to Windows support providers, whether you're paid in money or appreciation. You may come across a need to know this. Let's see, I'm going to do one more adjustment there. I have his email address concealed at the top. I did an !C in chat a few weeks back about QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2024 lifetime version. I remember that. I purchased for 3 users and devices at $250. This is the Amazon link. Let's go put that into chat. QuickBooks. The attached PDF is all pages except page 5, which contains personal info, the license number. I'm not going to bring up the PDF. It's not needed. The package derived now the reason why this is important is because QuickBooks quite a long time ago said we are not going to sell QuickBooks Pro Desktop anymore. They've been pushing everyone to QuickBooks Online, far more expensive, or a QuickBooks Desktop Pro subscription, which is like $1,000 a year. I think he actually says that in here. Yeah, down here, $1,000 a year. That's without payroll. The package arrived in a timely order via USPS containing instructions, very heavy paperweight, and a flash, what the instructions were worth, and a flash drive. So this is not downloadable. This comes on a flash drive. Ordered from Amazon on October 18th, received on October 22nd. Received my mini computers. Set it up. When it came to the point of activating, now this is a little different. When it came to the point of activating QuickBooks, you must choose, I think it was issues activating it. I think there was issues activating it, and then brought the page to enter the activation code. Please note this version of QuickBooks does not require an Intuit or QuickBooks account sign in. Even though it asks you to do it, do not create one. Also will not support payroll or bank feeds or any other QuickBooks services except possibly a maintenance release. This is not from Intuit directly. This is not the regular QuickBooks Desktop Pro method of getting the program. It is a valid program. It is the Intuit created program. I'm going to show a little bit more about how this came about. He's saying his son-in-law also uses QuickBooks 2024 desktop version, paying an annual fee, $1,000. He's paying the annual subscription. He plans on installing this on his PC as the second device because it's a 3-device license, 3-user, 3-device license. I am not allowed come January 1st, 2026 for him, and it will delete his QuickBooks account. Oh, second device that I'm allowed. Come January 1st, that's when they're going to do it. As a note, I've been working QuickBooks version since 1999. I started my accounting for my business when I started my business in 1992. My church has gone to online subscription. They need payroll. Yeah, if you need payroll, you have to do the subscription part. Or if you want bank feeds, you have to get the subscription version. So let's go to this because it shows something here about where it comes from. Third-party stock. That's the significant thing. This is coming from third-party stock. Earlier this morning, I looked at this and it said only 3 left in stock. Now there's fewer, only 6 left in stock. There's 6. It was 3. Yeah, that's what it says. Lifetime license, third-party stock, one-time activation, no subscription fees. Please note, QuickBooks has never officially sold a lifetime version, but these third-party retail codes are not limited to annual subscriptions. So somehow how it does the activation, it's a little bit off book. So be careful when you inform somebody about this option, give them the heads up that it's not the full, legitimate, currently approved and supported version. Disclaimers: licenses will not appear in camps, nor will they register with QuickBooks. QuickBooks will not validate these codes or provide support. Payroll add-on is not available. Bank feeds must be imported manually, but apparently you can still import bank feeds. All right. And that brings us to the conclusion. Gray market. I think that's fair to call it gray market. Yeah, lifetime. It's not a lifetime subscription. It's not a subscription at all. Lifetime license. But at some point down the road, that version of QuickBooks might not work for you. Now, I have clients using 2016. That won't do bank feeds. That won't do payroll. I have clients on current subscription at $1,000 a year that need payroll. Older versions could probably still work, but probably where this 2024 version might become problematic is the next major edition of Windows. If it's called Windows 12, whatever the next, after Windows 11, whatever's next. It could be that one of the annual updates might have a problem with the 2024 version. Not within a year or two, since that's 2024. Generally, they were good for 3 years, is the way. If you're doing payroll, it would be every 3 years you had to upgrade. So maybe 4 or 5 years down the road, one of the H2 updates might cause a problem. Maybe workarounds will be discovered for it. Maybe whatever's after Windows 11 might be a problem. So lifetime license, yes, that doesn't guarantee it's going to work for 20 years. All right, that'll do it. Here is an email address. You can send questions or stories about issues that you've encountered. I don't really do one-on-one free support through that, except like through the show. Admittedly, since I'm only 1 day a week, sometimes I've been responding to those more than I would have otherwise. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will catch you later. Goodbye.
That's all, folks.
Tune in 6 days a week for Windows support, the help you seek. Send an email, leave a comment, join the chat. Our tech-savvy crew is where it's at. Not just me, but a whole community, helping you solve tech mysteries. With friends who are here almost every day, we love to chat and help you find your way. So subscribe now, be part of the team, for Windows support and more than you dream. Join the fun, don't miss a single stream. At LiveWindowsTraining-DougBetts or simply we're tech support supreme. We're tech support supreme. Tune in 6 days a week for Windows support, the help you seek. Send an email, leave a comment, join the chat. Our tech-savvy crew is where it's at. Not just me, but a whole community, helping you solve tech mysteries. With friends who are here almost every day, we love to chat and help you find your way. So subscribe now, be part of the team, for Windows support and more than you've dreamed. Join the fun, don't miss a single stream. And LiveWindowsTraining-DougBetts, or simply more deeply VB, we're tech support supreme. We're tech support supreme. We're tech support supreme. Tech support supreme. We're tech support supreme. We're tech support supreme. We're tech support supreme.